So, Caroline Dennington, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Duncan. It's great to speak to you as always.
So Caroline, I know one of the things that people are really interested in finding out about is what they can do to turn analyst relations more into a profit center. Yeah, I mean, some people think it's impossible. Some people have succeeded in doing it. Other people think that it's a nice idea but impractical. And obviously, in your time, not only at Symantec but also in previous organisations, I really think you and your team have built a reputation for being amongst the most effective people in the world, really, in aligning analyst relations more effectively, not just with sales but with the rest of the business. And obviously, this is why you were the first person to go to when it came to picking a speaker on this topic for the Analyst Relations Forum in London.
Thank you.
Let me just start off with one question to kind of set the scene, which is what are the opportunities for people when they're thinking about turning analyst relations into a profit center? I mean, what does that really mean, and what benefits might people be able to realize if they start to do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and actually a great topic. And I think one of the key things that any analyst relations professional needs to consider right up front is how analyst relations is positioned within the organisation, and getting analyst relations on the radar of those stakeholders that are important. Done correctly, it will earn the respect of senior stakeholders. It will be seen as a function that builds support for the company, its strategy and its solutions with the top influencers in the market, and especially those that influence the purchase decision and ultimately promote the organisation and its products and services. And I think, Duncan, there's various ways to do this, and more recently a lot of AR programs are starting to look at working with sales. It is a challenge, don't get me wrong, salespeople are a breed amongst themselves, but having an AR function perceived as an enabler as opposed to an overhead, which again, unfortunately, it can be seen that way within an organisation, is very important. So some of the programs I think that ARs are starting to look at and should potentially consider going forwards are the sales education side, whether it's through face-to-face analyst contact or webinars. AR can certainly be perceived as an enabler to sales to tap into analyst knowledge, which is very important to help them have conversations with their customers and prospects so that they know what's going on in the market, and also competitors and market trends. Understanding what is really happening out there can help them have a very educated conversation, and especially when they're working at that C-level. Lead generation is another area that AR can support. So by working with marketing as well as the sales personnel, they can help to develop those programs with analyst content and effectively sort of wrap it around the content that is coming out of the marketing team. And this will go a long way to helping generate qualified leads. Sales collateral is something I think that people can never get enough of, and sales tools and marketing tools are so important. So if you consider things such as reprints, I know they can sometimes be costly, but if they're used effectively, they can really be leveraged as a form of sort of independence or third-party validation from the analyst community and help towards fact-based selling. And then I think another area that, again, a lot of ARs are starting to explore, working with the analyst community, is the deal coaching. So some programs I'm starting to see out there, and the program here at Symantec is now starting to provide effective what we call sales listen-in inquiries, where they can listen in with an analyst rather than just one person in the room. Have several salespeople who could potentially be working on a deal in a certain sector or industry, and that provides them with that ongoing coaching to help reduce the sales cycle. So lots of different ways to look at opportunities out there.
So Caroline, why isn't this happening? I mean, the way that you outline it, it sounds, understandable. It sounds difficult, but none of it sounds like rocket science, and all of it sounds good. But actually, I think what we find when we speak with people, and obviously as a as a leader of the IIAR, you must also have lots of conversations where you find people who can't find a way to do it, or don't think it's possible, or think that it's, maybe that it's setting them up for a fall,
Yeah.
and that it's a dangerous thing to try. So what do you
Yeah.
think it is that's holding people back?
I think there's a few elements, Duncan. I don't think it's just one thing, which, it's unfortunate. But I think time is probably one of the biggest aspects for any AR program. We see, especially through the IAR, a lot of our members, they have dual roles. So they're not just the AR manager within the organisation, but they're also running the PR or the comms function. So that, in its own right means that they are being pulled in lots of different directions and have lots of objectives to fill. There's numerous documents that they probably have to populate. They probably are working on several magic quadrants and market scopes and market scapes and waves, and we all know how many man-hours those take. And then I think probably one of the biggest challenges for a lot of ARs, and this could be sometimes down to experience, but even the more experienced AR professional can face barriers here, is sales themselves. Sales don't always understand the analyst landscape. They're not clear on what it is that an analyst does. A lot of them still believe that the more money you throw at Gartner, Forrester, IDC, whoever, then they will just write what you want them to write. So there's an element of education, but also a big aspect of time.
So where should people start then? I mean, time is so important. People are going to look for low-hanging fruit, but on the other hand, that might mean that people don't put down the foundations that they need. And I can imagine that probably simultaneously there must be some quick wins, but also probably some tenacious long-term devotion is needed to really reap these benefits you were talking about earlier. So what are the options for people who want to start to turn AR into a profit center?
Yeah. So I think, you have to consider, first of all, where you really want to take your AR program and what the key objectives are. And then set yourself reasonable goals. Things, as you say, they don't always happen overnight as much as we would like them to. But looking for a quick win or some sort of proof point, you only really need one success. And then that example will hopefully filter throughout the organisation and other people will want a part of it. I found, with my experience, I only needed to do one thing right, and then other people in sales caught on to that. And as soon as they saw that they could either educate themselves better or that an analyst could potentially help towards their deal, and they were going to close that deal and get their bonus and so on, then that was it. They all wanted a piece of the pie, effectively. So I think, focus on what the key objectives are, look at where you really, really need to take your AR program, engage with stakeholders and understand from them what they want to see from analyst relations, and even with sales, spend some time with them, gauge their knowledge. I occasionally walk the sales floor here, just walk around, see what deals are going on, see what people think of the AR program. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But be a friend of them, get along to their meetings, get yourself invited, effectively have a seat at the table. If they don't know you exist within the organisation, then they're not going to come to you for support.
Caroline, thank you so much. I think you've given us a great flavour of the experience that you and your team have picked up at Symantec, and obviously which you've been so generous in sharing with attendees at the Analyst Relations Forum.
Thank you, Duncan. I'm looking forward to the forum and talking to everybody else about their experiences and also sharing some more insights, and happy as well to share some real-life examples which hopefully others can pick up on.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you.